Okay, in this lesson, we're going to create a form, and maybe later we could manipulate HTML elements. So to start, I have here a form. Okay, the name is form1.html. So I already created the structure or the HTML structure, and we have here the title, which is sample form. And inside the body, I have here h1. Uh, the inner HTML has a value of creating a form. So inside the h1, we have creating a form. Then another element, which is HR for line. So this is the output of the code. So on the right side, that is the output of form1.html. Okay, so let's start creating a form. Okay, so the topic is form. So in order for you to create form, you have to add the form element, which is form. Okay, form slash form. Then inside your form, you're going to specify an tag, which is input. Okay, then type. Then for the meantime, we're going to use text for the text box, and we're going to set the name of our uh, input. We will give names for our input. So let's say the name would be F name or first name. Okay, we're going to ask the user to enter the first name. And what? So that's it for the meantime. And we have to use the label tag, and to be aware of the use, for the user to be aware of what data he will going to enter. So let's say enter name. Okay, now we should use the attribute for telling this label is for what widget or what input. So you just specify the name of your input, which is F name for this label. So F name. Okay. The name that's appear on your form with label should be the same name that the appear on your input tag. Okay, that's it. Okay, so let's try. So I'm going to save this one and look at the output. So we have here enter name and a text box. Okay. Now, if we want to create another one, let's just copy this and add here. And let's say enter password. So instead of F name, let's say this one would be, the name for this one is pass. And we will change the name for our input, which is pass. And at the same time, we'll, instead of text, because we are asking for the password, the value for type will be password. And let's see what will happen. Okay. Oops. So let's add a break right here and save and refresh. So at the first glance, you will not notice the difference between the text and a password. But when you use the form, let's say for example, I'm going to start my name, Sam Espino. And let's say the password is 1234 1234. 3, 4. So that is the difference between the two. You will not see the letters or the numbers that you type when you are using password. So when you're using text, you will see the text, of course, and password, it will be hidden. Okay, it will be replaced by a dot dot dot. Okay, now to create a button, okay, to create a button, you use, of course, the input and type. And there are two types of uh, buttons. We could use reset. We could reset the form, and let's change the value. Value is for the name. Later we're going to use the value, but for now, let's use type reset. And let's add another one, another button, and type. And this one is submit. Submit. And I'm going to put here a BR. Okay, this will be the output. So I'm going to reload. So we have here reset and submit. Upon clicking reset, the value that we entered in the text box is erased, removed. Okay, while clicking submit query, when we today we don't have PHP yet, so there's no one that will catch the data. So clicking submit will do nothing. Okay, but the reset, when you type and press reset, it will remove all the data. It will reset the data inside your uh, form. Okay. Now what else? So we could change the name of our reset. Let's say, for example, you don't want the name of your bot. If you want to change the name of your button, reset to, let's say, for example, clear, clear. So save your work, then reload. So instead of reset, it will have a name of clear. So you could change it by adding the value attribute. Now, same with the submit. If you don't want to see the submit query and you want to define, you could rename your button. Let's say, for example, send. Okay. So save and reload. Instead of submit query, the value of whatever the value you put inside this value attribute will be reflected here on your button. So this is the name for your button. This is the name that the user will see on your button every time you specify value to reset and a submit. Okay. So this is the sample form. For now, this is the only thing that we want. One more. Let's say we want to have number. Okay, we are asking for a number. So enter, let's say for example, enter a number. Enter a number. We're asking for a number. And let's change the label to num1. Num1. And this one, we're not looking for, we're not asking for the password. We're asking for a number. So instead of pass, we will use num1, num1. And try, save. So before so, so we click save and reload. So we have number. Okay. Uh, clear. Okay. So now we have our form. We have our form. Okay, I'm going to create another file, save as, and let's go to the second one, which is form 2, and going to save this file, form 2, and save. So now I'm in the form 2, and I will modify this uh, code from form1.html. So I'm going to change the title to event handler. Okay, event handler, handlers. Okay, form with event handler. Okay, and going to change the name of our form to form 2 and save our form 2 and reload the page. Okay, and okay, so the title has been changed to event, and our H1 now has form with event handler. Now event handler, okay, so we're done this with the HTML form. Now on your LMS, you will see there an event handler that would go to the uh, W3C that discuss event handler. So right here, an HTML event can be something that browser does or do something to a user does. Here are some example of HTML event. So when you finish loading, so when you change the input for a field or you click a button, so that is an example of event. Now, event handler enables us to add JavaScript on our HTML without using the script tag. Like for example, we are uh, one, like say for example, let's go back to the output. We have here form with event handler. This is an H1 coming from H1. Now, if we're going to filter the event, like for example, if I click this word, okay, when I click this word, what will happen? So if I want to filter or trap or anticipate that event, which is click, I'm going to write on click. Okay, on click is an event handler, also a attribute, okay, that uh, reacts to the sort of event of which is on click. So when we click this form with event handler, so what are the instructions or what is the JavaScript statement that we want to execute? Let's say, for example, we want, when we click the word form with event handler, a alert will an alert will appear. So window dot alert, okay, and what will be the message? Let's say hi will be the message when we click the button. Okay, so instead of having script below, script and slash script, to have JavaScript in your HTML, we could use an event handler such as onClick and specify the statement that we want to execute. Okay, so let's save this work and let's see what it does in our code. So I'm here. Okay, so when I click the word, so I'm going to click the word form with HTML bound. So that's it. You will see now your window that alert, which is high, appearing. So every time I click this word, an event handler is triggered, which is on click, and a window will appear on your screen, which is saying hi. Okay. So that is one of the example of event handler. Okay. So we could transfer this one. Okay. The on click does uh, uh, you could put the event handler on any type of element. Let's say, for example, we want to put the on-click event on the submit button. Okay, on the submit button. So when we click save, okay, then load our page and click this one, it will have no more response. So we just transferred the on-click event to send. So when we click send, a hi will appear. Okay, so that is an example of event handler. So let's try to use another one, which is on 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 mouse over. Okay, on mouse over. When we hover to this word or the form with event handler, the JavaScript will be executed. So what will be the statement that we want to be executed? So let's say, for example, uh, we want to uh, change the background of the page. Okay, so we just say document dot bg color. Document dot bg color is equals to blue, then semicolon. Okay, so I'm going to save the file and the load. So once my pointer or was once my pointer uh, hover to the word form with it, it changes the color. Okay, changes the color. Okay, okay. Now let's add another statement. This is a on mouse over event handler. So we could add another one inside H1. So let's say on mouse out. So when I get out, what will happen? So when I get out, document that right, no, document that bg color, then I want to have a color of white, then semicolon, and double quote. So I have two event handler inside the H1 element. So I'm going to save it, and let's see what will happen. So reload, blue, okay. On mouse, out, double quote, single quote, white, document. I think we have an error. On mouse, out, this one, this spelling. On mouse out, document white. Okay, so I'm going to save it again and reload. Mouse out, hover, mouse out. Okay, click send. Okay, so those are example of event handler. So you could use any. There are lots of event handler. Example of event handler. Try just go to W3 tools or the link that I provided, so you will know about the event handler. Okay. Now that we have an idea of event handler, so I will teach you how to make your code more readable, especially if we're using event handler. So our code get messy or hard to read if we put JavaScript inside the HTML element. So why instead of having those statements, so why don't we group the statement and call it every time we want to use that group of codes. So I'm going to create here a script. Okay, inside the script, so I'm going to group the code using function, and I will name this function as ABC, and then open close parentheses. So uh, when you name your function, open close parentheses is needed in order for JavaScript to know that you are creating a function. That is the difference between a function and a variable. Okay, so curl, this is the beginning of our function, and the other curl is the last part of our function. That defines the boundary of your function. Okay, now let's move this one, this first line of statement, JavaScript statement inside the ABC. Okay, ABC. So now we don't have code for this one. Okay. Now instead of saying document.bg color blue in your event handler, you could just say ABC, ABC, open close parenthesis, then semicolon. Then let's see what will happen. Save, and let's go here. So blue, and yung white. So yung blue nagpa-function na, but the white is already still here. So let's create a function, and let's name this function as def function, and add the curl. Okay, and let's move this one inside cut inside this function. Oh, document white, and now instead of you just write def, then open close parenthesis, semicolon. Okay, now let's save our work. Save, and let's see. So it is working. Now for this one, click window alert. Okay, click window alert. Let's have another function. Then say def, def, ghi, then curl. Then let's copy the command, cut, and paste it here. And now you just call the function, semicolon, and save our work. Refresh, send, hi, send, hi. Now we have our uh, event handler, and we group our statement, JavaScript statement, and now we could call them after grouping the statement. We could just call the name of our function, okay, as a value of our event handler, which is on mouse over, on mouse out, and on click. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so I'm going to uh, save this. Okay, save. Then I'm going to save as, and let's create another one. 3, 3. Okay, Now that we have the script, okay, we have enter name. So let's say, for example, we will be creating a form that would, let's say, I'll just remove the event handler. We don't, we will not use this anymore. And let's name our activity adding two numbers. Adding two numbers. Okay, adding two numbers. Okay, instead of first name, we will use this as for our num1, and enter first number. Enter first number, and we will change this to num1. Num1. And instead of password, instead of text, we could use number. And instead of pass, we could use num2. Okay, and then enter second number. Second number. So we don't need password. So this would be num2. Num2. Okay. Now we have reset and submit. Okay, that's okay. And we don't have function A, B, C, and D, E, F. So let's erase this one, these two functions, and save GHI for the meantime. Okay, save and reload. This is 3, so I'm going to change our URL, modify our URL. And so we have here enter first number, enter second number. So when we enter number, like for example 12, then 13. So when we click send, so instead of send, okay, instead of send, let's say for example process. The key is process. Process. Or sum. Let's clear sum. It will get the sum of the two numbers. Okay. Let's get the answer would display below. So let's have an answer. So we have H1. Okay. And let's say H3. H1 is too big. So H3. And say let's say the sum is and let's have a span. Okay. And let's say this is the answer. Yes. Inside the span. Inside the span tag and H3. Okay. So let's see. Save. Clear. Reload. I'm going to reload this one. So first number 12, second number 13. Clear. Naki-clear sila. 13, 13, sum. So high. Wala pa nangyayari. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is when we click sum, the answer should be appeared here in the word answer. The sum is, and it will be, the answer will be displayed at this location in the word answer. Okay. So in order for us to get the data from this element, okay, from this HTML element who will use, okay, look at the name. So we should give name for our form. So that what will be the name of your form? So let's say the name of our form is form1, form1, and the number is located at num1, at num1. This one. This box is num1. Then this one is num2. So inside this box or inside num1, okay, inside num1, we will get this number. Okay. Now, for you to get the number, let's say for example, we want to get the number 12. We will say, okay, we will call the name of the form, which is form1, okay, and dot num1, okay, form noun1 dot dot value, okay, that value, okay. So let's try to get the value and save it under the variable x. So, I created a variable x and semicolon. Now, let us try to display the value of x. Let's try to display the value of x. So, how would it be? So, we're going to use the window that alert for the meantime and display the value of x. So, let's see if it will work. Okay, so save, then reload. So, I write 12. So we have on click GI. So when I click this one, a alert box will appear containing the value of X, which is 12. Okay, 12. Okay. Now I'm going to change this to 56. 56. So we are now successful getting the value of our uh, we are successful getting the value of uh, our form or the input. Okay, now let's try to get the value of number 2. So same format. Okay, form 1, but this time we're going to change the second name, which is num2, and let's use y for this one. So let's save and let's see. Okay, then 5, 5. So we can now get the value. Now the goal is to get the sum. The goal is to get the sum. So let's have a variable c that would add x plus y. Okay, x plus y. Then semicolon. So the answer for x plus y will be stored to the variable z. And in the meantime, we will use this window.alert to know if our code is correct. So I'm going to reload it again. Add 10 and 10 should be 20. So we have 10, 10. Okay. So I know you know the solution for this. So the value is treated as a string. So this is a integer. So we could use parse int, and parse int. And let's see what will happen. Save and reload. So 10, and 10 is 20. So our formula is now working. But the objective is to print the value here on the answer part. Okay, the answer part. And that answer part is in the span. Okay, I'm going to name our span or give an identification to our span. So let's say, for example, the ID of span is ANS. So the name of our span or the identification of our span is ANS. Okay. Now, so to access this the value or to change the value of answer to the to sum, okay, we're going to use document dot get element capital E by capital B capital I D. Get element by ID. Okay, and then specify the ID which is ans and dot. Okay, so we are going to change the inner HTML of span. So now ans is span, so we have to change the inner value or inner HTML of span. I'm referring to span. Okay, so what's inside the span? Okay, so we will change what's inside the span. So we could change that by adding inner HTML and give the value of C. Okay, give the value of C. So I erased the window that alert. I already erased the window that alert. So I replaced this code, which is document get element by ID. So using get element by ID, it will get the element with a ID name of ans. Now, with this command, I'm referring to span. In the span, I would like to change the inner HTML to Z. And whatever the value of C will be the value of the inner HTML of span. Okay, so I'm going to save my work, reload. Okay, C12 and 12 sum 24. Okay, now the command is on the submit. That is why you didn't see the answer. Okay, because it reloads so fast. So instead of using submit, we're going to use button. So the HTML will not submit the form. But here, we just use button, okay, in replace with submit. So there will be no activity instead of on click, okay. So I'm going to save, okay, then reload. So I'm going to add, type again 10 and 10 is 20, okay. Then clear. I'm going to type 30 and 45 sum 75. Okay, so I think our code is now properly working. So that is how you manipulate an image, manipulate an element in JavaScript using JavaScript. Okay, so far I think that is what you need for the activity that you're going to do after this lesson. So see ya.